Hey everyone, just before we jump into the episode, if you're listening to this and struggling to build pipeline through outbound prospecting, go and grab yourself a free access to my new prospecting course. It's got lessons on cold calling. It has the script that my last team used to go from 6 meetings a month to 60 meetings per month. I break the exact script down and I give you one of my AI tools so that you can build your own version of it. I have a lesson on outbound email, how to actually write that very first outbound email, teaching you the key components, and I give you examples of what good looks like. There's lessons in there on how to use video and voice note prospecting to cut through the noise and grab your buyer's attention. And then there's a whole load of other resources in there and lessons and tools. So if you're struggling to build pipeline, go and grab that now. There'll be a link in the video description. Anyway, let's jump into the episode. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Hit Your Numbers podcast. And today I'm joined by Mike. Hey Mike, how's it going?
Very, very good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I'm doing well. I spent the morning down at the beach getting some work done for an upcoming project. So coffee, good view, away from my desk, got so much more done without having loads of monitors and distractions. So yeah, really nice way to start the day and looking forward to this conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah, I kicked off my day with a nice walk of Battersea Park watching the sunrise. So I can't complain either. I had a 6 a.m. meeting with Singapore. Unfortunately, they postponed. So I got to have a nice stroll around the park.
Yeah, lovely. And this time of year is good, right? Where it's, crisp and nice and cold out there, but the sun's out. So you get best of both. It's my favorite season. So yeah, love it. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about, will AI replace us salespeople? We're screwed, right? I'm already typing up the CV, getting ready to take it into my local co-op. So yeah, we're all done for. And I think this is an interesting conversation that I don't know about you, but I'm having with a lot of people. I've interviewed 2 SVPs for the podcast this week, and both of them wanted to speak about AI. So I feel like it's definitely priority one for a lot of orgs. So I think there should be some good conversation today. So maybe just before we kick things off, Mike, maybe just give the listeners a bit of background, who you are, that 30,000 foot view, maybe your last few roles, and then what are you building at the moment, and then we can jump into the conversation. Does that sound good?
Absolutely. Okay, I'll dive in. So, look, my world has been entrepreneurship for the last 25 years. I've always run my own businesses. I feel like being an entrepreneur or a founder has become this little, new rock star thing in the last, 5 or 10 years. It's not a rock star thing. It's just a lot of pain and misery. But it is fun along the way as well. So I've run multiple companies. My last business that I exited about 3 years ago, I built that over good part of a decade. It was called Shootster, a video tech platform, and we ended up with 20 million ARR, 150 employees, 72% of the world's Fortune 500 companies as clients, and it was a video tech platform. So that was quite a ride, quite a roller coaster building that thing out. We had 32 people in sales and marketing. I've hired SDRs, AEs, customer success managers that then became account managers that went back to being CSMs that became love managers. I've done the whole process of how many different ways can we skin this to try and get different results in sales and marketing. So come from a level of actually doing it, being there in the trenches. My original role was an SDR, making 100 phone calls a day, right? And then I kicked off from that in a media business, selling magazine ad space, through to then starting my own business 25 years ago, and forever then being, running effectively sales. Being a founder is just being a salesperson that happens to own the business as well, and own all the problems and the headaches that go along with that. My most recent business now is Buzztrail, which I am extremely excited about because I went through that pain of 32 people in sales and marketing, hiring SDRs, firing SDRs, and constantly having that Ferris wheel of trying to get the momentum going. And one of the key problems I've seen is the book a demo button is broken, right? That process of you have a SaaS platform, you have a product, you want people to see it as quickly as you can, but they have to press book a demo and wait a couple of days, maybe even a week, to get a time in with some SDR who's not prepared, who's just going from demo to demo to demo, probably doesn't have the depth of knowledge they should. Whereas the prospect was sitting there drinking a cup of tea and wanted answers 3 days ago. So that's what we've set out to resolve. We are using AI avatars for that because it's the only way to do it at the level that we need to do it and the scale we need to do it. Does that mean everybody else's jobs gone? I don't believe so. but keen to explore it.
Yeah, 100%. And this is a conversation that I love having. I was talking to another founder the other day, and we were talking about AI. I kind of view it my thinking here is around looking at a production line. So if you imagine like a BMW factory, at one end you've got a big pile of car parts. There's a bunch of wheels and steering wheels and chairs and stuff. At the other end is the M5 that you can drive out. And on the way, they build the car, right? And there's different checkpoints that get approved and things like that. And that is the sales organization. And at the end, we hand over a customer that's fired up, excited to get started, and all of the different components that move into it. And it's like, hey, how do we actually look at the production line and understand where can AI fully take over, where can it assist, and where do we still need a human being? And in my first VP role before AI was a thing, I actually outsourced to a team in Asia the account creation and the account hypothesis process, because I had a small lean team, VCs with lovely realistic targets, and needed to hit those numbers. And I didn't want my reps burning time on that stuff. Not that it's not important; it's critical. But I wanted them speaking to customers, driving revenue.
A low-level
That
task
is,
to be automated.
yeah, and that's a
Yeah.
perfect opportunity now for AI to come in, right, and to take over majority, if not all, of that process if you implement it right. So, from your experience, then, where are you seeing AI deployed? And let's start with the mistakes at the moment. Where are you seeing it deployed in the wrong way? What are you seeing?
Look, I think when it comes to AI in sales, anywhere that somebody's trying to get out of the hard part of sales by putting an AI in and getting it to do it for them, you're missing a trick, right? The hard part of sales is getting on a call, having a phone call, talking to another human being at a conference, talking to another human being. That relationship, that's what sales is all about, and that's why good salespeople are great and worth a lot of money. And people that can't do that shouldn't be in sales, right? And then people are saying, well, I don't need to do any of that anymore. That's hard stuff. I'll put that to the side and I'll just do, sit at my desk and set up an AI agent to do it all for me. That's where I think people are falling over. And if they're not seeing the result of their bad idea already, they will be in the next quarter, because you can't get out of the hard stuff of sales. I think what you've spoken about just then is getting rid of the admin stuff. That's a beautiful use case, so you can spend more time on the phone. The problem is spending time on the phone is the uncomfortable part, and a lot of reps don't. They want to avoid that. You can't avoid that.
Yeah,
Which sounds ironic, I guess, when I run a business that has voice agents and video agents that can spend time on the phone. Ironically, though, I don't believe that those video or voice agents should replace what a human can do.
agree. Yeah, it's just a time and a place for them, right? And sellers can be focused on some different things. Like again, I was talking to two SVPs about this week, and it's like, actually, I think the problem is there's no limitations now what we can do with technology. There was that time maybe 2 and a bit years ago where we were like, hey, we're starting to really push the boundaries of what we can do with these tools. Now AI's around, it's kind of removed that challenge. I think the challenge more to overcome is the lack of curiosity in the sales organization around what is possible and what should I do. And like, if you are, banging your head against a wall, like maybe just download the most recent version of the State of Sales Salesforce report, where it's got like reps spend 30% of their time selling, the rest doing admin. There's like a kind of a chart, just screenshot, dump that into Chat GPT and say, where can I use AI to swap this around? So it's 70% selling, 30% doing admin. And I don't know about you, Mike, but I sometimes use AI to help me use AI.
Yeah, I know, and I was going to say that when you said just take that and chuck it into ChatGPT and ask me how I can use AI better. It infuriates me, and now, ironically, we're sitting here on a podcast talking about this, telling people information. They could just use ChatGPT for this information too, but hopefully we add some level of enjoyment and pleasure as they're walking around listening to us too, having a bit of banter. But the actual doing of how do I do X? Whenever anyone asks me that, I feel like, remember the old "let me Google that for you" link, and you'd send it to them and it'd just pull up Google and write it in for you. Yeah, that's where it's just let me Chat GPT that for you these days. And it's so true. Take the problem you're trying to solve, throw it into Chat GPT and take those steps out. I think the only challenge and the caveat to that is Chat GPT will will have you believe you could be a rocket scientist and go and build a rocket step by step. And it'll put it all together. Would you like me to put a schematic for? Oh, yeah, put a schematic together for me. Oh, would you like me to do? Yeah, do that.
Yeah.
And you could spend, especially as an entrepreneur who doesn't have a boss telling them not to do this, you can, trust me from experience, spend days on end going down wormholes with ChatGPT. When ChatGPT first came out, I was between businesses. I was an entrepreneur that had exited one business, had done the sitting on the beach and got bored, and then sat there going, what should I do? And ChatGPT exists. Well, what should I do? And then, literally day after day of just deep rabbit hole, having it make me believe that I could do whatever it is that it said I could do. So I'd say be very, very wary of that. Use your brain as well and pull back out from that and say, hang on, is this my area of expertise? Should I be wasting time on this? Does vibe coding up a product actually make sense? Especially if you're a salesperson, not a coder. I went down that path. Very, very bad path to go down if you're a salesperson, not a coder. And then lean on the people that can actually do those things, because, as you said, there are so many tools out there for so many different areas within sales that we can use really, really well. Is there a perfect universe where I can just have that all vibe coded so it all does it together? No, like it doesn't exist yet. Will it exist? They tell us it will, but then again, in 1998, I was told that we'd be having hologram conversations over phones in a couple of years, and it still hasn't happened. So,
I mean, the acceleration in the innovation is crazy, right? Like I've been building AI agents in custom GPTs now for about a year. I'm a startup VP of sales, so I've had to become techie. There's not been an enablement or a RevOps team. That was me. So I'm pretty good on the tools. And when I started to get curious around custom GPTs, it's like I was going in and doing like a medic deployment with a customer, or doing, I know, discovery or business case training. And typically what I find, Mike, is that the manager to rep ratio is significant. So they typically don't have capacity to do a lot of the reinforcement and the hands-on stuff. So that's when I started to build custom GPTs for reinforcement, like a discovery coach or a business case builder. And when I was building these, I was like, one day they'll probably do it, but I wish they could build something that I could just talk to. And then the other day this is terrifying, but I had a conversation with myself. I've built James GPT, which is my AI twin, and it's been trained on Medic to start with. I recently wrote a book called Champion Playbook. I uploaded all of the content from that. I've put about 350,000 words into it. And I literally can text it, or I phoned it and I was like, hey, I'm going into an economic buyer meeting with the CFO. My champion is a VP of HR. They're in the manufacturing industry in Leeds. They've got 2,000 people. I need you to give me the top 3 objections that the economic buyer might give me. And it sounds like me when it spoke back to me and it coached me. It didn't give me the answer straight away. It asked me what did I think was going to come up and help me identify gaps and support me through that process. And that for me is so cool, because a year ago it was like ChatGPT would put words into the screen and they were usually not great. And now I've got an AI talk.
yeah.
It's just crazy.
So it's funny. It's funny you mentioned this, because I always like to have a bit of a giveaway on podcasts so that your listeners can take something away as well, and they can connect in with me if they want it. And what I was going to give away and will give away, and I'll give it to you as well, is the ability to do exactly as you just said, clone yourself, but in video form as well. So what we can do on Buzztrail is literally clone you as James, the avatar, and you can have a video call with yourself. And that is a freaky level of, Black Mirror stuff, where you sit there going, hang on, what? I just answered my own question the way I would have answered my own question. And it's good fun. Have an argument and debate something out with yourself. But when you're looking at your own vision back again as well, it's pretty freaky.
Yeah, send some stuff over. We'll put it in the show notes. That's super cool. Mike, can you make mine have a good hairline?
Of course.
Is that possible?
You already have a beautiful hairline. Nice.
When I drop my head a little bit like that, you'll see the Heathrow runways. That nice. Is really, really cool. And that, again, that's next level, right? I was thinking about voice, but being able to actually see somebody on the other end is pretty cool. And I think what you're building over there is, again, really special. I was speaking to another founder the other day who does a lot in the AI space around filling the pipeline. And I said to him, I said, look, I read a McKinsey Co article a few months ago where they interviewed a bunch of people, surveyed a bunch of people, and these people are prepared to spend up to $50,000 self-serve because they just
Hmm.
don't get any value from speaking to a salesperson. But also, like you said, if I'm sat on the sofa, having a glass of wine and I want to get access to a demo at 8:30 on a Thursday night, why do I have
Yep.
to wait till the following Wednesday to get access? And I was like, well, imagine if you inbounded, yours is way better, but I was like, imagine if you inbounded and you put in the challenges that you're trying to solve for, and you got automatically taken to a page where there was just very short mini demo recordings that were pre-recorded. So this is where I think your value comes in better. But there's like a little mini video that you could watch where a salesperson wants to try and show you everything and overwhelm you. And then there was an AI bot where you could ask about integrations or pricing. And if you liked it, you clicked the DocuSign button, you got signed up and you went straight in, and it collected the
Yeah,
cash route. Like a lot of people would want to do that, and you could
absolutely.
repurpose the budget on SDRs at the SMB level and go focus on enterprise accounts and redeploy those resources, right? And I guess that's where
Absolutely.
what you're building comes into play.
Absolutely. And that's the journey I went down. I was like, okay, how can we solve this? And it's everything from chat to then live people popping up and do other things. And then, how do you employ people around the world? So there's always someone available, but then that person gets on, doesn't know the answers, et cetera, et cetera. Multiple languages is a huge one as well. How do you get people around the world to access your platform? If that's what you're doing, being a multilingual platform, and we do a lot of work in Asia as well, so that's a big one. But if you're jumping on in, as I do at least, most of my research is done at 10 o'clock at night. I'm finished something on Netflix. I'm sitting on the couch. I go, oh yeah, I wanted to look at that. And my brain's finally fired back up, and I'm looking through, having a look. I don't want to jump on with a human. I'm not at that stage yet to say I want to book a time in my day, but I do want the answers. So our avatar will pop up, and it can basically do anything that a human can do on a Zoom call. So the goal with that is slideshow presentations, SaaS platform walkthroughs, answer anything about pricing, and do it in a very human way. The main thing as well is actually then putting that information into your CRM, updating the sales team, putting a time in a rep's calendar as well. So an AE now gets time in their calendar the following Wednesday, whatever it might be, with a prospect, but it has a recording, transcript, the intent data, the whole thing of the discovery demo, and they're booked in and ready to go. And interestingly, HubSpot is using this tech in the back end of anyone that goes to sign up for HubSpot and has less than 20 employees or 20 seats, gets directed to an AI avatar. And interestingly, they've seen their success rate go up 78% increase in free trials and a 25% increase in net paid sales, which is huge.
Yeah, massive. And look, there is still a place for a human being in sales. I don't think we'll ever really get away from that, especially in mid-market enterprise. If we think about champions, by definition, the person that's driving consensus, they've got something to gain from the investment, and which means they've got reputation. So they will want to consult with a human being if it means making a bad call and losing their job. But I think this is a
Without a doubt.
perfect with that, right? And I think this is a great use case for AI. And you're right. Like, I think until you become a buyer, most sales reps don't think this way. But you're right. I sit on the sofa and that my missus is watching, I don't know, Housewives or something, and I'm just like trying to disappear and not watch this. And I'm in, we actually got somebody sign up the other day through ChatGPT. So imagine you go to ChatGPT and say, hey, give me the top 3 vendors for solving this problem. I come to your website and then I'm like, oh, there's no like show and tell or like easy way for me to figure this thing out. I might
Yep.
go back to AI and ask for other recommendations, and you could have lost somebody, right? And that's where like
Yep.
Drift back in the day launched conversational marketing, because rather than waiting, hours or days for a sales rep to follow up, you could just IM a chatbot, a calendar would pop up after being qualified, and you're speaking to a rep, 5 minutes later. And I think yours is just that next step in, you know, how things have evolved, and you can now actually talk to a AI
Yeah.
avatar, which is the same as speaking to a sales rep in most cases.
Absolutely. And, the tech at the moment is, good enough. I would say it's just getting better. It's good enough. And it's only just got to the stage now where it's good enough. And I've been passionate about this space. I've worked in video tech for the last 20 years, and AI avatars used to piss me off majorly, and voice avatars especially. In fact, just this morning I yelled at one at British Gas. I was just, you stupid, because it's just old tech that doesn't work, right? And there's nothing more infuriating. AI should be useful and helpful to the client and be useful and helpful to the business, not just one-sided, and a pain in the butt for the user. And so I believe that avatars have just got to the stage where they're good enough. And what I mean by good enough is I can have a fluid conversation back and forth. Do I get fooled and think it's a human? Well, certainly some people have been, but that's never our goal. We always call it out. I'm an AI avatar from X, and my role here is to do Y. How can I help you? Our avatar can see as well, which is one of the big differences. It can actually read intent data. So we get all that data in the back end saying they're engaged, looking forward, etc. They're a male, between 30 and 45 years old. It will give us all that sort of stuff so we know who we're talking with. The other key there is just making sure that the actual depth of knowledge there is set in, which is obviously the same as what you've described before, and we can do.
Yeah, the context, right? Again, AI. So again, I talk to people about it like this. So if you think about last mile transportation, you drive to a city, they want you to park in a car park, you jump on a shuttle bus for the last mile. It's good for the environment, all of that kind of good stuff, right? Same with AI. If you can feed it the context, like we're both talking about here, it can get like 80-85% of the way there. And and then at the moment, and then there's like that last 15 minutes where you might want to just tweak the copy of the business case, or you might want to just double check the annual report if it's doing like POV creation or whatever, right? But if you feed it the right content, it's great. If you don't, and you go into it and say, hey, write me a 2,000 word blog on sales forecasting, go, it's just garbage.
Yeah.
Because it looks in so many different places and pulls together. And like you said there, it's there to please you. So it just gives you everything and anything, and is actually not that helpful. And if anything, it can do the opposite. It can actually add work to your plate, because now you get AI brain rot, or whatever people are calling it. You struggle to actually think
word
yourself.
fruit salad.
Yeah, exactly. You've seen it all, right? So it's all about the context, isn't it? So we've built the leading skill optimization platform with 400 plus sales lessons, 12 courses from prospecting all the way through to late stage deal negotiation and more, one-to-one sales coaching and AI sales assistance. And I want to give you 7 days free access to the platform. The reason I want to do this is because nobody gets a degree in B2B sales. And after training and coaching hundreds of sales reps and teams in the last 2 years, most haven't mastered critical selling skills, and it's preventing them from being promoted, earning great money, and building a great career in B2B sales. So go to the revenueenabler.com, grab a free trial, and join hundreds of salespeople that are closing their skill gaps and mastering sales. There's a link in the video description. I'm looking forward to getting you set up. Give me a shout with any questions.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, the thing you said before, I just want to come back to, which is 70% of a sales rep's time is wasted on admin, 30% they're selling, right? Now, when I speak to sellers, and I find myself as well, that 30%, the precious time that you actually spend selling is, I'd probably say at least, and I've had other sellers say, at least 80% of that time is spent with the wrong people. Right? You're selling to people that were never going to buy, garbage leads. They're coming in either MQLs, or they've just popped up on the website and they're like, yes, I booked a meeting. It's in your calendar. And you're sitting there on the meeting going, within 5 seconds, I know you're not in my ICP. And now I have to sit here politely for the next 45 minutes, giving you a demo on something you're never going to buy. Right. And that's the worst, because A, it throws out your numbers, B, you're exhausted by it, et cetera, et cetera. So my goal, when we talk about the best use case for AI, is to triage those leads at the front and only get your best reps on calls, fresh as a daisy, ready to go with your best prospects. And if you've got 100% of that rep's time on calls with the best people, you're on fire.
The customer's happy, right? And some people will disagree with that, and that's okay. But I don't think SDRs personally should be doing discovery calls or demos with inbound leads, because it's frustrating when you're a buyer. You ask them like specific questions, technical questions, pricing questions. Oh, I can't give you that. That's not my role. Well, buddy, I've booked a demo. or I've asked to talk to sales, and there's one question that I want to ask because you guys are hiding it on your website is how much does this thing cost? Because I've looked at your
Yeah.
website, I've been on your YouTube, I've asked ChatGPT, will it solve my problem? Do the integrations work? Everything's great. I got to ask my boss for money. Is this thing 50 quid or 50 grand?
Yeah.
And the SDRs, I don't know, but let me just qualify you. Where with yours, it's like, hey, I don't care if you're real or not. Can you show me very quickly and only show me a 5-bedroom house, not a studio flat? Can you show me the 5-bedroom house and then tell me how much this thing's cost? That's all I need. And if it's a human being doing it or it's an AI avatar, I don't think the buyer genuinely cares
Yeah.
as long as they get what they
Yeah.
want out of it.
Yeah, give people what they want. Humans want the answers, and we're there for the answer. Now, of course, one could argue the other side, saying, "Well, as a sales-led organization, we hide that price for a reason. We want you on a demo call for a reason, and we want to walk you through a sales process." And that's where I do think that balance is. And you mentioned earlier about the avatar you set up would ask you qualifying questions. We actually build our avatars on sales frameworks. So you mentioned Medic earlier in the call. We've got the BANT framework set up in ours. We can set up with Medic, whatever it might be that you want to run your avatar on, so that in a nice, polite way, they're going through, do you have the budget? Do you have the authority? What's the need? What's the timeline? And they can put all of those sorts of things into the CRM and qualify in or out. But if we want to program it to say, if they ask straight up, what's the price? Let's find out how many seats they need and give them the damn price.
Doesn't mean you can't phone them still, right? I can just imagine sales leaders listening to this going, oh, so do we not phone? Like, what do we do with these leads? Does the avatar do it? Always like, no, like if the avatar doesn't have enough today to close it, then you're capturing information anyway. Just give an SDR the number and tell them to phone them the next morning because it's 8 p.m. and they're not going to phone them now. And also, it probably isn't best practice and very professional to do that. So get the rep in their inbox ready for the next day to phone and be like, hey, Mike. Thanks so much for inbounding. I noticed you spoke to our AI avatar. I looked at the transcript. Looks like you asked these 3 questions. I just wanted to give you a quick call just to make sure that everything, was clear and see if there's anything else you need. When do you guys want to get up and running? Like, why can't human beings still do that? It's not like a all or nothing.
Yeah, no, exactly right. It's a triage process. It's a triage process on the website front line. How can you be there, ready to help the user or the prospect and give them the answers they want at the time they want them, and then you can be there to do a bigger follow-up sell. I believe, as you've said, B2B enterprise sales, which has always been my world, people buy from people, right? And my joke used to be to my sales team that the faster you can move from cold LinkedIn connection saying love to be connected in your network through to being at their kid's birthday party, the better you're going to be, right? Because as soon as you're close with that champion at that organization, you've got a sale, right? It's about building trust. My problem is I don't have the time to go and build trust and be at the kid's birthday party of everyone. I just want to be at the kid's birthday party of the right ICP.
Yeah, I agree. And I came across, you've probably heard of them before, Walnut, a long time ago when I was thinking about when I was building one of my first teams about how do I, and we had a lot of inbound at the time, how do I give them like product tours? And again, I thought that was so cool. You build these little kind of scenes out in your product and then you put like a little label over it. They click this button, it kind of like self-guided tours, good for like, boardrooms that we might not be invited to, and they can show them around. And again, this is cool what you're building because again, it's the next step. It's like, hey, they can still get the tour. They can also talk to somebody and they can say, hey, this path doesn't go this way, but I've just seen something. Can you show me what that does? That's actually really important to us. And it can freestyle, it can course correct, right? Rather than going, oh, I need to go back out and find the new path and see if it shows me there. Right.
And that's my old platform at my last business was we used Intercom for that. And, it would have a guided path that would take people on or click here and now click there. And okay, cool. Does a lot more than it used to do by just saying free trial, have fun with that and break it. But as you said, I can't go in there and say, well, hang on, what happens if I click on the admin button there and where would I find the tool to add users? And you go, oh, okay, well, that's down here. And so, the conversations we've been having with most clients has been, straight up sales demos online, which is the main purpose we built it for. Onboarding is a big one. And then interestingly, you talked about cloning yourself before and asking yourself questions. We've had a couple of businesses in some quite random areas wanting to, when I say random, they're not SaaS at all, that have said, can you clone me, have a video avatar of myself, and all of our employees can ask questions. And it's a great use case. It's funny when we say, well, how stern do you want you to be on the my advice is generally don't make it yourself, make it an HR person so that no one gets offended at you versus just the avatar.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and it's cool, right? And I think we just got to embrace it. Like it's there now. It's only going to go further. Like I said, I was really impressed with the walnuts of this world. Never thought they would ever be replaced by an AI version of myself as an avatar, somebody they could have a conversation with. And it is really good. Like I've not experienced yours, but James GPT, yes, there's a 2 or 3 second delay while it thinks and looks at the knowledge base, but I'm in no rush. Like I want fast information, but I want the right information. I'm okay with that. I just never thought we would. I don't know. Maybe it's lack of curiosity in this area all those years ago, or just not knowing what you don't know. But I think it's amazing what.
No one knew it would come this quickly to where it is. And it's interesting you mentioned the few seconds gap, because that was one of the big problems is latency while it thinks. And so we've actually come up with ways around that as well, where the avatar will say things like, which is exactly what humans do, by the way, where if you ask me a trick question while I'm on this call I wasn't expecting, I'd say, you know what, that's a great question. Now, the only reason I say that is because I'm thinking, what the hell am I going to say? With our avatar, you can't just sit there going, you've got to actually say something. And so, we've programmed ums and ahs and, I'd say, those sorts of fillers actually make it a lot more human when you're having a conversation.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Well, one last question that came up as you were talking about the kind of demo and the flow, especially like early in the funnel. What about sales engineers? So, I was speaking to a customer the other day. They're so hard to find really good sales engineers, super expensive for the right reasons because they're very, very good at what they do. Is this something that you would deploy mid-sales funnel for like technical validation and have a sales rep on the Zoom call as well or on the call as well? So you've got the customer, the sales rep, and then the AI avatar? Or is it more for like people coming to the website wanting a demo but not having to wait 10 days to get one? Are you seeing that kind of play out? Is that part of the plan?
Yeah, so we're doing a little bit in reverse where we're training the avatar on the best Zoom call recordings or Teams call recordings that you're doing and your best reps calls and FAQs. We will build that, take all of those calls, whether it be Fathom or one of the other AI note takers, and we're then training the AI avatar to have the right answers on the front end for the sales demo. They can join a Zoom call. So they can sit there on a Zoom call and participate. We haven't seen a huge need for that. And I guess personally, I'm not knowing where that would come in. Once again, if we go back to people buying from people in the human relationship, I believe people need to be in the sales process. I do believe that. Unless you're talking lower end sales, like not B2B SaaS enterprise stuff, just, hey, it's $100, $200 a month, whatever it might be or less. I like the product. I've had a chat with an avatar. I know they're there and I can call on them later for answers. I'm just going to sign up. And that sort of level, great. When you're talking 50,000 plus deals per annum, B2B enterprise, I want somebody to blame. I can't blame an avatar. So I want to have a chat with a human.
Yeah, I was thinking more like maybe a bit more like high velocity, but still fairly technical, maybe. Or maybe second would be, I don't know, complex products but limited sales engineering resources.
No, I'm with you. Yeah, so there's even organizations if we take it outside of SaaS, and that's definitely a use case where it's a potentially technical product. Somebody needs to have deep knowledge, and it always ends up there's one poor person at the company who has all the knowledge in their head, and all the reps are like, oh, let me get Steve on the call. Steve's great at this, or Joanne has all the answers for this, so we're going to get her on the call. You'll have to wait a week because they're really busy. That's definitely a great use case to be able to say, you can call on an avatar that has that depth of knowledge. We're even talking with a company that sells nuts and bolts and screws and fasteners and things like that right now. They have, you'd think, what? That's a really random thing. Why would you need deep technical knowledge? Trust me, you need deep technical knowledge. I tried to set up a studio off the back of using some of their products, and it took me 2 weeks to get the right answer on whether a metric course thread would then be compatible with an imperial thread, and which one I needed to get this joiner between the two. Hugely complicated. Now that's a perfect use case to say, get all of that product knowledge, all of those SKUs that you have, and they have tens of thousands of SKUs, get all of them, put them into the knowledge base, and then build an avatar that can actually answer those questions.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, I think that's such a good one. Or even like an early stage startup that's selling, something very technical and doesn't have any sales engineers, and the only techie is the founder, who can sometimes do more harm than good coming onto those calls. They start talking about data lakes and all of that kind of good stuff, right? And they're super technical people and they add incredible value in those conversations, but they can also digress sometimes. And again, the thing I love about AI is, again, context is important, but you can teach it to just stay in your lane. We're here talking about this capability or this module. I want you to delete these other things from your memory. From this conversation. It's the classic, you go to an estate agent, they don't just jump in the car and start driving around and showing you places. They're like, hey Mike, what are you looking for? Are we talking a 2-bedroom flat or a 5-bedroom house? Do you want a double garage? Need to be in the city, out this? They ask you, and then they just go and show you those, right? And salespeople do not do that. They do a discovery call and then they go, cool, right, I've done my stuff my boss needs. Now I'm going to show them the 17 different modules we have, and I'm going to start on the single sign-on section, which they don't care about.
The old show up and throw up.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess your AI avatar doesn't do that. It's trained on what to show, when to show it, how to show it.
Absolutely. And we can say, look, on slide 22, you cover off these things. So if anyone asks anything in the ranging of pricing, well, it's on this slide. If they're asking about technical features, it's on this side. But it will also, as you said before, ask those qualifying questions. Sometimes we need to tone it back on how qualifying it is, because a client just goes, I just want the answer, stop asking me questions. But as you know, and there's books on it, books titled it actually, questions are the answers, right? And being able to ask those questions in the right way gets you to the point of delivering the correct answer.
Yeah, love it. I could talk about this all day long, but I feel like we've gotten some pretty good stuff here. Anything you would leave the listeners with that maybe would get them thinking about AI slightly differently in their business?
Look, I think more maybe whole level philosophically, and it's in line with the topic of this podcast of, is it going to take all of our jobs? I did hear something great from, I think it was Sam Altman or somebody talking with Sam Altman around this topic, and it really hit me that he said, AI in general, taking everybody's jobs. Okay, great, and everyone's sitting on the beach and having nothing to do, or us all having no money and nothing to do. The one thing that we're missing in that sort of conversation is ambition, right? It's human ambition. And so if you look back to the fact that in so many things, they're creating a detractor. Oh, well, farmers just get to sit on their backsides and do nothing now. No, there's other things to do, right? And as long as humans have ambitions, there will always be other things to do. We're going to create more, we're going to build more, we're going to come up with things that in 5 years' time, we're going to look back and go, never thought that would be an industry, and here we are off doing X, Y, Z. So I'm excited about the future and what's coming. I think it will be a future for those that are willing to adapt. One of my favorite books is Who Moved My Cheese, which is basically talking about the fact that the mice just went back to the same spot for their cheese every day, and then the cheese got moved, and a bunch of the mice just kept going back to that same spot and died, right? Yeah. If you keep going back to that same spot, you will run out of money, you will run out of steam. There's the cheese has moved, and that cheese is being moved all over the place right now. For sake, the cheese is up in the air somewhere and being thrown between one side to another. No one knows. But I think it's it's definitely a time for, as you said earlier, those that are curious in sales. It's those that are curious to look deeply into what exists in the world of AI that I can use to empower this pipeline, rather than just seeing it as a threat.
Yeah, I agree. Curiosity, and I'll kind of wrap with that in just a second. But yeah, you're spot on. for me, an exercise I would recommend any sales leader listening, or if you're a rep, maybe push this up to your boss, but get the whole team offsite if you can, get a massive whiteboard and just draw out your production line end to end, and come with some data points where some of the bottlenecks are, like low conversion rates or long time in stage and things like that. And then just do like a AI kind of workshop and be like, hey guys, we're going to break up into groups of 3. Okay, these 3 groups you're going to think about top of funnel, these 3 groups you're going to think about middle, you 3 groups you're going to think about late stage. Best AI agent idea, winners get 500 quid or whatever, and get the team to go away and look at the production line and look for areas for improvement, because they're the ones in the trenches, picking up the phone, doing the busy work, frustrated by the busy work, getting the busy work wrong. It has to be, again, part of culture. Like, if we want to drive change and change behaviors, it has to be bedded in, and we need the reps to grab it with both hands and be prepared to run with it. The amount of times I've implemented tools and said, hey, Mike, here's Gong, go sell a load of stuff. And they're like, don't really get it, don't really know why I need it. And then, the initiative fails or it's not. Yeah. So that could be a cool little, exercise or thing for teams to do, especially in Q4. This was awesome. Loads of value. I took like nearly 3 pages of notes. So
great to chat. I really enjoyed it as well. And I think you're bang on about that pipeline process as well. There are so many areas that are broken. Very quick example, in my last business, things dried up and I wasn't sure what had happened. No one had noticed the fact that I just went back to basics and I just ghost called the business and tried to put an inquiry in on the website. It went nowhere. And there was just a little thing that, a hash or something was left out of some line of code between one system and another system. And all these leads were literally just going into a black box of nothing. And I think we had close to 1,000 leads just sitting there going dead. And most of them were dead because of that period of time. And no one had the, hang on, something feels different moment until I went back and actually just ghost checked it. So always run those checks through the whole pipeline and mystery shop your own business.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. And get away from your desk. Like I was, mentioned earlier about James GPT. We turned 2 as a business 9 days ago. And thank you. And things are getting very busy, and I'm the product. So capacity is always going to be a problem with my business, other than like selling tech. So I was like, well, how do I create unlimited capacity? One of the things that I keep putting the pricing up and people keep buying more of is the coaching. But there's only a certain amount of hours a day I can do it for. So that's when I started to build my James GPT AI twin to create scale. But I didn't think of that here. I live in Portsmouth on the south coast of the UK, and there's a bench that I go to when I need to make big decisions or think about things right over the water. And I sat there just staring into the ocean. Just came up with this idea, and I was like, imagine if I could feed it, a few million words of my brain downloaded. So I just started speaking into my microphone, taking the transcript, putting it into a Google Doc, and uploading it to a few places with some scorecards and some other stuff, some frameworks that I use, and turned it on, and off I went. Nice. But I had to get away from my desk because I've got 3 monitors here. I'm in the business. I'm working on the business. Sometimes you just can't see through the trees, and you just need to get away, right, to think long and hard. I guess like you did when you sat on the beach, enjoying the downtime from the last run, and then boom, an idea hit you, and you're inspired to go back and start building.
Yeah, and literally my last big business, Shoots, that I built, it's a famed story within that business that I came up with the idea of sitting on a beach, and I did, and that was where I made the decision on a beach in Australia to get it up and running and go for it. And I honestly believe you get clarity when you're in nature, looking at the beach or whatever it might be, and wherever you can go, to get that kind of headspace to say, okay, we're going to do this.
Yeah, love it. Amazing, Mike. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. Really looking forward to sharing this one, and we'll have to get you back, maybe in 3 or 6 months, because AI is moving at such pace. You'll be doing AI avatars in person, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Very, very soon. So it'd be cool to see, how the business evolves. So yeah, thanks so much for jumping on.
Great to chat. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. I'll see you later. This episode is sponsored by, I'm just playing, But I do have two things for you today. So we recently released a mini prospecting course, 100% free to access, where I break down the script that my last team used to go from 6 meetings a month to 60 meetings per month. There's a lesson on how to write great first outbound emails. And then there's another lesson on video and voice note prospecting and best practices. And there's so much more in the course as well. If you want to get free access, just click the link in the description below. Now, alternatively, I said there's a second thing. Maybe you don't need prospecting support, but maybe you need help running better demos or scoring your deals with MedPick, or you need help with prospects that are ghosting you. If this is the case and you want to unlock some of these trainings and resources, go ahead and join the prospecting course anyway, because you'll find there's other resources and more content in the mini content vault folder. So go sign up today and unlock these resources.